I'll give you a minute to do this first. I'm taking my own advice and thinking about this for a second. If I'm honest, I would have preferred to put this prompt on the screen at first if I thought that would work. This is the experience I had. A couple of my friends that you hear about in a minute, Theo and Alex, I went and visited them in Providence, Rhode Island, and they brought out paint and canvases, and they said, "We're going to paint." And I was like, okay. It's not what I would have chosen to do. I've never considered myself an artist. It was absolutely life-changing. I've been painting ever since. The interaction with the physical material, listening to music, spending time with friends, the connection between people that's possible through art is incredible. And if you haven't experienced it, well, then you need BoMA. You need Buy or Make Art. But the fact is, everyone has experienced it to some degree. For my dad, it's the rocks he's organized in his yard. We can sit outside and talk about those rocks, and he talks about, this section is from Alaska, this section is from Iceland, and, the different patterns in the rocks. He enjoys the simple beauty of the rocks. And arranging them is a way that he's created art. So, even if you're not going to drop everything and try painting right now, at least pause for a minute and think about how you have created art in your life. And I want to talk to you about several things. We're going to start with why, as Simon Sinek suggests, and then we're going to go through the 4 different sections of this vision that I'm building, which has only existed in my brain until now. And it is a lot, okay? So as I go through this, you might have thoughts like, wow, this seems really complicated. This seems like a bit too much. And really no one person needs to understand all of this except me. And anyone who wants to take part, I just want you to have an idea of the vision. So bear with me and keep in mind that as a prospect or customer of buyermakeart.com, you would only fall into one of those 4 categories at the bottom, maybe 2, but generally we're going to target different markets, and I'll get into the target markets and competitors and everything at the end. But first I want to go through these 4 different sections of the business. So when you first log into buyermakeart.com, or when you just go to the homepage rather, you'll see something like this. Very simple. Do you want to buy art or do you want to make art? When it comes down to it, the way that any human interacts with art, the way that we can create artists and support art education in our country and in the world, in the simplest form, it comes down to 2 things. You either buy art or make art. So, and under the buy art side, there's the option to just buy it, or you can play a game. And this I'm really excited about. I'm a gaming nerd and I've created a gamified way to encourage art sales. I've got the whole revenue model, which I'm not going to show in this presentation, but I wish I could share more. It's a viable business model that actually doesn't require a lot of art to sell, but the more art that sells, awesome, right? Big bonus. That's the goal, obviously, is to get art to sell. But one of the challenges that we face in the world of art is that wealthy collectors control this. I'm getting ahead of myself. So there's just buy it or there's play a game. Under the make art side, you can sell art as an artist. This is mainly geared towards art students. Hey, I've got a bunch of art that I've made. I could use some help figuring out how to sell it. If you just Google that problem, there are tons of influencers and people on YouTube and social media trying to teach artists how to sell their art. I'm not going to put the onus on them. I'm going to sell the art for them. Just make it easy for them. And then finally, there's that learn part. And that's what you'll see currently at buyermakeart.com. And I'll get into that in a minute. But before all of that, let's start with why. And I'm going to tell you why our communities, our families, our country, our world need BoMA. But the internal why for you might come from a slightly different place. Painting isn't for everyone. I understand that. But I also thought painting wasn't for me, and it is. So painting is what I'm going to focus on with BoMA, and I want to tell you about a few paintings that have touched me even before I considered myself an artist, just viewing these pieces of art. So I did a study abroad in Spain, and I saw this painting in a bunch of books and stuff. It's Las Meninas, and you looking at it on your screen is probably like neat. That looks like an old, late Renaissance painting, so what? One thing that you miss when you're seeing it on your screen is just the fact that you are sort of a victim of the lighting that someone chose to represent this on your screen. Look at the painting and look how it changes when I change the lighting. It's so different. I think it looks more like this in person, but it feels more like this in person because there's so much shadow, it feels dark. But standing in front of this, it felt like I had just interrupted a candid moment. This is like a window to 1656. I'm looking straight into a scene 400 years in the past, and they're looking back at me going, hey, what is he doing here? And I think part of why it's so striking when you stand in front of the original is the fact that it's 10.5 feet tall, which is another piece that you lose when you're seeing it on a screen or in a book, right? There's nothing like standing in front of an original painting, and the size doesn't necessarily matter. Here's another one that really touched me. I think this one connected with me because I suffer from anxiety and depression, and I feel those in my chest a lot, and I meditate to get through it. Some training I've received from helpful therapists. And the way that this like spike is coming out of the horse's chest, I know the perspective there, it kind of looks like it's going onto his shoulder, but I imagine it going underneath, and it's just, you can just kind of like an x-ray view of this thing coming out of his chest. And he looks so relaxed, This is how I feel as I'm meditating through my anxiety and depression. And it's just a beautiful painting. The colors, I love blue. And this, by the way, is about the size of art that we'll be dealing with in BoMA, buying and selling and teaching people to create art, experience the creative process, or appreciate the bridge that art builds between minds. In this case, I've tried to build a little bit of a bridge between my mind and yours as I talk about my mental illness. That can be a topic that's hard to talk about. It's a little easier if we're standing shoulder to shoulder looking at a painting instead of looking eye to eye, or creating painting together. It's like looking at the beach or looking at a campfire. It's just easier to talk. There are not awkward pauses when there's something to do with your hands or you're looking at something together. Art bridges minds, whether you're creating it, buying it, selling it, viewing it. But I'll get to that. Here's another, don't mind the noise in the background, this is real life. Here's another one that really touched me. This is in Spain again at the Reina Sofia. This is Guernica by Pablo Picasso, and this represents the bombing of a town called Guernica during the Spanish Civil War. I think this is one of the most evocative pieces of art I've ever seen. You really get a sense for the anguish and chaos and fear and harm that has come from this civil war and from this bombing. This one also is huge. It's 25.5 feet across, and standing in front of it is quite an experience. All right, let's go on to another one. Now, art like this, I know some people see it and they're like, that's scribbles. My 2-year-old could do that. That's one of the beautiful things about art, is that it can be so subjective. This one really connected with me again because of my mental illness. My brain feels like this, and living in my brain feels like this. And when I first saw it, it immediately, I don't know if Jackson Pollock had something going on in his mind too, but it connected with my brain in a way that words can't. And I feel peace even now looking at this and just kind of tracing it visually. I'm feeling like someone has taken the chaos and the busy nature of my mind and put it outside of me so that I can step back and look at it and take a breath. And maybe this helps you understand my mind a little bit. Again, building a bridge between one viewer and another. Art bridges minds. And I may not know what was going through Jackson Pollock's mind as he created this, but I've seen a picture of him. He holds paint in his hand, like just scoops it up, like glops of paint in his hand and spreads it around. Just a very tactile, creative process that you have to try painting to really appreciate. And one more, I grew up as a very devout religious person, and during a really hard time in my life, I came across this original painting, and I felt like I wasn't alone. I felt like Jesus understood what I was going through. And, through my religious deconstruction and my faith journey, I have some baggage associated with my religious upbringing. And yet this art acts like a bridge to my past self and a bridge to my former faith community in a way that's difficult to accomplish, you know? And I think there are so many examples of this where there are people from different perspectives, different points of view, different political parties that have a hard time understanding each other because of baggage. And art can help bridge those gaps. But in all of this, there's nothing like an original. I hope that you have appreciated to some degree seeing these paintings on your screen, but it's not the same as standing in front of an actual handmade piece of art where you can see the paint starting to crack, or you can see the individual brushstrokes where the artist actually put their touch on the canvas. And on that note, here's a little spoiler preview of what buyermakeart.com will look like, and then I'll rewind and get back to the why. But here's an example of a piece of art for sale or for auction at buyermakeart.com. And you can zoom in to see the texture of the painting, because at BoMA we will only deal with original paintings. No prints, no AI, no digital representations beyond just, we got to show you what you're buying on the screen. But what you get is something that was physically touched by an artist and created just for you, and there is only one ever. Everything at BoMA is an original, one of a kind. And having that original at your house, in your office, in your Zoom background, whatever the case may be, will bridge your mind with the people who view it with you. It's an easy icebreaker, but then if you dig deeper, it can really bridge the mind between you and the artist, or again, between a viewer and another viewer. I've seen cases where the artist gets to know themselves or other artists. This has happened for me. My wife and I have had some beautiful experiences where discussing art has bridged our minds. This happens between parents and children. It happens between neighbors. Art has a way of bridging minds, and it's really powerful. But how powerful is it really? Can it bridge this gap? Now, when you saw that hat on your screen, you felt something. Maybe you felt, ugh, MAGA, ugh. Maybe you felt like, oh, he's like me. He's on my side. And when I showed my wife this presentation first, and when this popped up, she said out loud, I wouldn't put that on there. And that's why I have it on here. And whatever your thoughts are about Make America Great Again, I think the words themselves, they've taken on a whole other meaning and a bunch of connotations. But just the idea of making America great again, you can't really argue against that. Are there some things that we have lost as a country? Yes. And I want to show you one of those things.
Yes, my name is David Grossberg, and I'd like to know, do you think the children of illegal aliens should be allowed to attend Texas public schools free, or do you think that their parents should pay for their education?
Who are you addressing that to?
I think you were first in this.
He was looking right at you. I said he was. Look, I'd like to see something done about the illegal alien problem that would be so sensitive and so understanding about labor needs and human needs that problem wouldn't come up. But today, if those people are here, I would reluctantly say I think they would get whatever it is that they're, what the society is giving to their neighbors. But the problem has to be solved. The problem has to be solved because as we have kind of made illegal some kinds of labor that I'd like to see legal, we're doing two things. We're creating a whole society of really honorable, decent, family-loving people that are in violation of the law, and secondly, we're exacerbating relations with Mexico. The answer to your question is much more fundamental than whether they attend Houston schools, it seems to me. I don't want to see if they're living here, I don't want to see a whole thing of 6- and 8-year-old kids being made, one totally uneducated and made to feel that they're living with outside the law. Let's address ourselves to the fundamentals. These are good people, strong people. Part of my family is a Mexican.
Can I add to that? I think the time has come that the United States and our neighbors, particularly our neighbor to the south, should have a better understanding and a better relationship than we've ever had. And I think that we haven't been sensitive enough to our size and our power. They have a problem of 40 to 50% unemployment. Now, this cannot continue without the possibility arising with regard to that other country that we talked about, of Cuba and what it is stirring up, of the possibility of trouble below the border, and we could have a very hostile and strange neighbor on our border. Rather than making them or talking about putting up a fence Why don't we work out some recognition of our mutual problems, make it possible for them to come here legally with a work permit, and then while they're working and earning here, they pay taxes here. And when they want to go back, they can go back, and they can cross and open the border both ways by understanding their problems. This is the only safety valve right now they have with that unemployment that probably keeps the lid from blowing off down there. And I think we could have a fine relationship, and it would solve the problem you mentioned also.
Blame it on social media, blame it on wealth inequality, whatever you want to blame it on. We are more divided now than ever, and we don't see the other as a human. Whether the other is someone from another political party, another country, another race, whatever. We are all humans, and it's possible to bridge the mind of one human with another human. Now, I've got this hat on the screen. I just showed you what I think was some greatness from Bush and Reagan. Let's talk about the other side, because I think it's easy to pedestalize decency from the past or villainize things we see today. But the fact is, the division in our country and in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our families is not the fault of one side. Do you remember what Kamala Harris's campaign slogan was? She went through a few and finally settled on one that seemed to resonate the most with voters. There was this one: when we fight, we win. Wow, what a great message of unity. Fight who? Fight our fellow countrymen, right? Fight amongst ourselves. When we do that, we win. Great, thank you. This one was better. Let's win this. I mean, it's an election, right? You want to win, obviously. But right on the heels of when we fight, we win, let's win is saying, let's fight. And then she settled on this one: we're not going back, which is so obviously just a reaction to Trump's slogan of Make America Great Again. Nothing here is building bridges. It seems like both sides are intent on lighting the bridge on fire. And as we like to say in my family, no one is the bad guy in their own story, right? Maybe you're wearing a Make America Great Again hat right now. Probably you feel misunderstood by a lot of people. Or maybe you resonate with this idea of we're not going back. And the idea of being great again, you feel like is being conflated with things we don't want to go back to, like racism and things like that. If we could sit down and see the humanity in each other, we could build bridges between our minds. And art has the power to do that. If we don't bridge our minds, I don't want to sound alarmist. If we don't figure out how to start bridging our minds, I fear we could be heading towards a greater understanding of Picasso's masterpiece here. I don't want to know what this is like. I disagree with my family members, my neighbors, my friends, but I want to see them as humans. I want them to see me as human. But this is such a big, I was in Pennsylvania for Halloween, and there were Halloween decorations, but you could hardly tell that it was a holiday outside the election because, Pennsylvania was a battleground state, and there were Trump and Harris signs everywhere, obvious feuds between next door neighbors where there's a big Trump sign facing this way and a big Harris sign facing that way. This is not a simple problem. It feels like this, and it feels like it's just so busy and fast and complicated and overwhelming that you just sit back and you just think, what can we do, right? Yeah, Brett, that sounds great, to bridge minds, understand each other, see the human in the other. That all sounds great. How? Like, what in the world can I actually do? Well, I would propose that we need to bridge our minds again. This is sort of my take on Make America Great Again. When I heard Bush and Reagan and the way that they spoke about illegal immigrants, I thought, gosh, that sounds like a human talking about another human. My kids are going crazy in the background. So how do we bridge our minds again? With art. Art bridges minds, but we've got a problem. Art is at risk in our country for a number of reasons, but two, my daughter's going nuts. By the way, please look at buyermakeart.com. Go to the blog. Look at the blog called Build a Bridge to Your Child's Mind. That 4-year-old you hear going crazy in the background, I had a beautiful experience building a bridge between our minds by making art together. And that's part of this whole thing. So take a look. So art is at risk for two main reasons. One is there's a lack of public funding. These are just the first two things I found when I Googled, and there are 100 others like it. This X that graph is making, the number of art classes going down or the funding going down, will the number of students come up? This is happening everywhere. This is an example from Oklahoma, but again, you can find 100 others just like it from all over the country. And then on the lower half there, you have an article from the New York Times that mentions the mind-expanding value of arts education and the fear of what we're losing as we're losing arts education in our country. And then one more from this month. As I'm recording this, it's still May 2025. Another budget proposal to cut more funding from public schools. So that's number one, a lack of public funding. Art education is at risk. The second is artist contracts. There are some people who are privileged enough to become actual artists. I've got some friends I'll talk about in a minute, including the ones I mentioned in the beginning, who are artists. Alex is an artist at RISD, Rhode Island School of Design, the best art school in the country. And her friend, this is Theo telling me about Alex's friend, one of the girls in Alex's cohort is in a tough spot at the moment because she has a gallery in New York City that she's been working with and may be eligible for representation, but they stipulate that they have to control the sale of all of her work. So here we have a great artist at a great art school, and she has an opportunity to be a real professional artist. And it's kind of like selling her soul. And I don't mean to fault this gallery. Thank goodness there are galleries that will support artists and that art still exists. But what happens here, and as we go back to, Theo, he used to run a gallery here in Utah, and he says the sale of fine art is controlled by rich collectors who already know how to milk poor people. And that may sound pretty cynical. It's because it is. But it's true. To be successful as an artist in today's world means to make money as an artist. And those who control the flow of money are good at controlling the flow of money. But what if art was just art for art's sake? What if you didn't even know who the artist was and you just said, I like that art, and you could bid on it? Or what if you said, I want to start creating art, and there was a free resource to start learning? Getting ahead of myself again, but that's where we're headed here. But we need artists to be free, to be artists, and not locked into these restrictive contracts that makes the price of good art go up and the availability and accessibility go down. So art is at risk because of a lack of public funding and restrictive artist contracts. And what's the result? Deepening inequality and small-minded people. It might seem like I'm making a leap here, that the lack of art is resulting in small minds, and the lack of art is why we have such a divide in our culture, in our communities, our families, our neighborhoods. But I'll just remind you, these ideas of deepening inequality and small-mindedness were just the first two things I found when I Googled this. This is not just my opinion here. Fine arts education matters, how shrinking budgets deepen inequalities, and the mind-expanding value of arts education. As funding for arts education declines worldwide, experts ponder what students and the world at large are losing in the process. We are losing the ability to understand another human, to bridge our mind with someone whose experience is not like ours. And that's because we're losing art. And the ultimate result is burning bridges. I think of good friends who I used to see eye to eye with, and we could use some art in our conversations to help us bridge those gaps. And I've seen it work. It works. So to get back to that Jackson Pollock-like mess, right? All of those different lines and scribbles go in different directions. This problem that we're facing of division in our communities, families, neighborhoods, what can we do? We need to bridge our minds again by creating artists, by being artists, or by consuming art and talking about art. Now, it just so happens that Bridge Our Minds again matches BoMA, but I want to stick with the really simple, what can I do to start bridging minds? When it comes down to it, the most simple thing that you can do, there's two options. You either buy art or make art. That's it. So that's what we're about at buyOrMakeArt.com. Bridging minds by giving people a simple way to buy art or make art. In short, my mission in creating BoMA is to bridge minds by creating artists. And there's 4 important pieces of this, of why this is going to work. One is everything at BoMA is one of a kind. The system that gamifies and privatizes the art sales, it's a way that's never been done before, that doesn't get locked into those restrictive contracts like we see at galleries today. And BoMA will never deal in prints or copies or AI. It's a handmade, hand-painted original every time. Next, it's democratic. Every time you log into BoMA, once you have a membership, even a free membership, You see a random collection of art and you just click on the ones you like, and every artist has an opportunity for their art to be voted for and be represented in the top 10. Whether you're an art contest winner or a RISD alumnus or a 5-year-old kid. Oh, and I just looked behind me for a painting that I sent home with the artist. She's 9 years old, but here's another one. This is from my daughter. I think she did this when she was 7. If I logged in and I saw this in a random selection of art, there's a good chance I would give it a vote. Okay, third, BoMA is accessible. So most of the pieces that we're gathering and selling are from art students, but anyone who signs up with a BoMA Maker membership, which is only $6 a month, can submit one piece of art per month. So the opportunity to get your foot into the door of the art world becomes much more accessible with BoMA. And finally, it's a philanthropic organization. I wanted to set it up as a nonprofit, but thanks to someone I'll mention in a minute here, I've realized the way that my experience best would go into this is to build this as a business and then take profits and put them into a foundation. So the membership fees from BoMA fund the BoMA Arts Foundation. And this is all accomplished in partnership with alumni, faculty, and students from art schools all over the country, including these ones. Here's my first big disclaimer. You can see it at the bottom of the screen there. These are schools that I intend to work with, where I know people that can help me talk to the right people and get involved. I do not have official partnerships with these schools yet. But I'll tell you, both Theo and Alex got their first art degree at Weber State, and now they're in Rhode Island as Alex pursues her graduate degree at the Rhode Island School of Design. I only mention that because if you were to rank these universities on the level of prestige in terms of art, you know, RISD and Yale would probably be at the top. University of Utah and Weber State wouldn't. But again, great art comes out of Utah. Great art comes out of everywhere. And speaking of which, let's get into a little bit of how BoMA is actually going to work. This is still kind of the why, but the why here overlaps into the how, because at these schools and others, every semester, art students are faced with a dilemma of what to do with all the art they've worked on all year. Do they store it somewhere? Do they sell it? Or, I'll tell you what happens a lot, they throw it in the garbage. Theo and I were roommates when he was an art student at Weber State, and we had the coolest art in our house. That it was his art. And I think most of it's in the garbage now. So one thing that BoMA offers, and I'll get into more detail later, is storage for art students. And not only do we store the art for these students, but we also try to sell the art so they could actually make money by working with us. But even if they don't, it's a very cheap storage option just for their art. And of course, if they do start selling art on BoMA, there's no restrictive contract. They can sell as much as they want with BoMA, go on and have their own gallery arrangement, whatever they want to do. But after a summer of storing and selling that art, in the fall, the students can come back, reclaim their art, or they can keep letting us store it and trying to sell it. Or if they just stop paying their bill, now it belongs to BoMA and it's part of our collection and we can keep trying to sell it. So I mentioned this kind of gets into the how a little bit. Let's go deeply into the how now. So there are 4 different areas of BoMA, like I mentioned. That one that I just talked about, where we store art for art students, is right here under Sell Art. You can see the art storage option down there. Before I get too far past this idea of storing art for art students, I just want to mention that there's a business like this that already exists that's very successful called Storage Scholars. They were on Shark Tank, but they help students move out and back into apartments, you know, over the summer when they have to leave and unpack all their stuff. BoMA will do something similar, but not all the furniture and boxes and everything, just art for art students. They have been extremely successful. They got a deal here with Mark Cuban. And if you go to their website now, you can see they are partnered with, I don't know how many universities, a ton. They're very successful. So I plan to model that part of BoMA after this. So there's one example of a business that's similar to one part of BoMA, right? Here's an example advertisement that I'll have for the universities. I have this here mostly just to give you a concept of what we're offering. Really, the main push of advertising will be the same way that Storage Scholars has done it, and that is by partnering with universities and have the universities email on their behalf so that it comes from their professor or their department or whatever. And they just know that BoMA is a resource that the university's partnered with so that we can store their art over the summer and they don't have to throw it out. Okay, one more caveat before I get into those 4 sections of the 2 parts of buy art and the 2 parts of make art. And that is, I want to acknowledge the people that have helped to this point and probably will continue to help, I hope, for a long time. First of all, Mallory has been breaking her brain, her words, not mine, figuring out how to build this membership site with these different avenues of joining and bidding on art, and there's a lot to it. I'll get into the game in a minute. I'm stoked to be working with Mallory. She and I worked together in the past helping small businesses get automated systems up and running. She really knows her stuff, and I'm just excited to have her on board. Theo and I have been best friends since 7th grade. This whole thing is really born from conversations between he and I. In fact, I have one conversation that I recorded that I'd like to make an animation for that I think could become a good advertisement for BoMA. just, it's so hard to sell the power of art. Someone has to experience it themselves. And it's been nice to collaborate with Theo as this is all coming together. And he used to be a gallery curator. He will be for BoMA as well. And he also runs a storage facility in Providence, so that's convenient. Charlie Anderson, you might be surprised to see your face on here. He and I have only had one conversation about this, but already it's reshaped the direction of BoMA. So I appreciate you, Charlie, and I will definitely be bothering you from time to time as I try to figure out how to make this successful and scalable and also philanthropic. And finally, Alex, I hope you don't mind me putting your face on here. What to say about Alex? She's just a beautiful human being, and she gave me a tour of the RISD campus, which was really cool, and she's a good friend. So Alex, you may be surprised to see your face on this screen. I've mentioned to Theo as well. Theo and Alex are really the artists in this group, and true artists like these two work best if there's not too much pollution from capitalism involved. So I don't even know how much Alex would acknowledge that she's had influence in this at all, but you do, Alex. Thank you. Now let me peel back the curtain just a little bit. Here's a conversation between Theo and I, and he mentioned, hey, Yale is 2 hours from here, Mass Art is 1 hour. If you make a business trip, we could hit several top universities. And these top art schools have like flea markets where art students will sell their art before they have to figure out whether to store it or throw it out or whatever. So that's going to be an easy place for us to go and talk to artists face to face and say, hey, whatever doesn't sell, we have a solution for you to store your art and also try to sell it for you. I keep coming back to that because I think some of the other pieces of BoMA are a little more visionary, maybe a little more difficult to grasp. Whereas this one, Storage Scholars is already doing it for university students. We're just going to do it for art. It's really low-hanging fruit. We just have to get all of our ducks in a row, and we'll launch this next spring in 2026. And if the rest of BoMA doesn't come into fruition, this will work. But the rest will. Wait till you hear the rest. Let's take this left to right. We'll go over all this. So first is buy art with those two options. One is just buy it. Basically, this is just someone who's like, oh, I heard about BoMA. They sell art. I'd like a piece for my wall. Let me go buy one. There's the play a game option. This is for someone like me, honestly, who I'm interested in art, but I'm not necessarily going to spend a lot of money on art that often. But I would like something interesting for my Zoom background. I mean, a lot of people my age are working online now. We have meetings online. Even if you go into the office, you meet with people over the video, right? And it's really kind of a cheat code to have some unique art in the background. Anyway, so it's so hard not to get into the weeds of each one. Just buy it. I just want to buy art. Play a game, largely targeted towards middle-aged professionals. Under the make art side, we have sell art, which is largely targeted towards art students. And then there's learn, which is largely targeted at parents and children or couples or people that just want to have a fun activity, art activity to do together, to spend quality time together. And through all of these are all different ways that we help bridge minds through the power of art. Whether you're just buying it and telling your friend about it when they stop by, or you're sitting down with your kid and you're painting together, art bridges minds, no matter which of these 4 ways you get into it. Let's go back to this homepage. This is the concept of what you will see at buyourmakeart.com once we've launched. And you'll have 2 options. You can either buy art or make art. Now, as I get into these different sections of the business, again, I want to re-emphasize, no one needs to understand all of this but me. And if it seems super complicated, just find yourself in the one area that you would interact with, okay? Let's start with, let's say you heard about BoMA, that they sell original art by art students from all over the country, from children up to professionals, and you're interested. Maybe there's something I'd like to buy. So you go to buyourmakeart.com and you click on buy art. Well, then you get an option. Would you like to just buy it? Take me to galleries, let me see what art there is, or would you like to play a game? Well, you're the first one, right? You just want to look at the art and buy some. So you do that, and it's going to tell you, okay, just look for a buy now button. All right? If you're not interested in playing a game, you're not interested in art classes, you're just here to buy art, look for that buy now button, and you can right now click continue to galleries, and there you go. Here are the paintings for sale. We've got the latest top 10 winners. You can click on one of those, or along the bottom, you can look for art by color or by the price. But let's just say you're drawn by one of these top 10. You like that one on the bottom left. So you click on that one, you get a closer look, and you can see there's that buy now button, 20,000 B. Now, it's not clear what that costs, but that's the button you're looking for, right? So maybe you click on the image first to zoom in, like I mentioned, and you can see that texture. You know this is a one-of-a-kind, handmade original. You'd love to have that on your wall. And by the way, if you own the art, you can touch it too. When you go see art in museums, the first thing you learn is don't touch, right? But when you own an original piece of art, you can interact it in a tactile way which is something special about having an original piece of art. So let's say you want to buy this piece. So you click on buy now for 20,000 B. There we go. You can see at the bottom left there, the total is $215.50. This is a top 10 piece of art, so $200 is the deal. If you want something cheaper, you can always go to the galleries that are organized by price, right? But wait, I have an opportunity to save $25 on this order and 15% on all future deposits with a BoMA patron membership. It's $100 a month plus tax, cancel anytime. I could hit sounds great, or I can once again be like, no, I'm just here to buy the art. No thanks, I'll pay full price. Great, so then it takes you to the checkout. You pay your $215.50 and it is shipped to you. But if you saw this and you said, oh, save $25 now and 15% in the future, it's $100 a month. Maybe I should clarify the messaging there. But if they click sounds great, then look, we show them the discount, good. Your total today is $190.18. And again, what I want to clarify here is that the membership is included in that, because that $100 that you pay towards your membership goes directly towards the purchase of art. So you're only saving money by getting a membership. You don't pay for a membership that pays for something outside of purchasing art. It just makes it easier for you to purchase art. So then you go through the checkout process, order confirmed, we'll let you know when it ships. Your BoMA patron membership has been created. You have already enjoyed 2 perks of membership, 1,000 bonus bids, whatever that is, and 15% off bid deposits. Welcome to BoMA. Together we create artists and bridge minds. Okay, cool. Well, painting's on the way. Now I have a membership. I can set my password, or I can learn more about the membership. If I click on learn more about membership, it'll be a video from me saying welcome. And also in this case, we'll tell the BoMA patron they now have the ability to sponsor an artist. And some artists' membership is going to be free because Ellen, in this case, signed up as a BoMA patron, which again is just another way that we bridge minds and bridge gaps, in this case, bridging a gap of inequality where someone who wants to be an artist and maybe can't pay $6 a month can be sponsored by someone who's buying art, paying $100 a month. It's hard to present all of this because you kind of have to have all the puzzle pieces together before it makes sense, and I can only present one piece at a time. But this is one example of how the entire ecosystem and vision of BoMA brings together these different things like an accessible art class with the money from an art collector to bridge the gap between those two people and facilitate art education and art in general in our country. Okay, and I've got the etc. down there because you can imagine there would be a whole onboarding experience to help Ellen get her account set up and all that. But as a little preview, you can see on the top now we have Hi Ellen with the log out button. We have the deposit button. And her balance right now is 0 because she just spent her bids that she got when she signed up for her membership. I'll explain all of that in a minute. That might be stuff that Ellen never needs to know. If she's just here to buy art, then every time she logs in, she'll see a discount because of her membership. Awesome, good for her. But if someone goes to buyermakeart.com and they select buy art and then they choose that second option, play a game, this is where I'm going to nerd out for a minute. So if you're not one who's into games, playing games, gaming systems, credit card points, flyer miles, whatever the case may be, this might not be for you and I might lose you. This might feel complicated. It might feel like a lot. And that's okay because this is one target market. There is a target market that will love this. And this game will drive a lot of the revenue model of what makes Buyer Make Art work. So let's dive in. If you click on play a game, it's going to recommend the BoMA buyer membership. If you want to buy art, but you don't want to just go pay full price, you're probably not going to be interested in paying $100 a month, but $20 a month might be doable for you. For $20 a month, you get 2,000 bids plus 500 bonus bids. And I'll get into those in a second. You also get 10% off of all your bid deposits. You can bank up to 40,000 bids. You have the option to submit art for sale, and you can vote to earn 10 free bids per day. So BoMA Buyer is the right membership for you. You can just click Set Me Up to get started, or you can click How Does the Game Work? And we're gonna do that first. Let's see how the game works. Okay, welcome to the game. There are 2 steps to buying art in an auction or in the game version of BoMA. Step 1 is to buy bids. Bids are currency on BoMA, and they go in your bid bank. When you buy bids, it's called a bid deposit, and paying members get bids every month, free bonus bids, and discounts on additional bids. Step 2 is to spend bids. So you can bid in auctions or use the Buy Now button. Bids, that's the black B, and bonus bids, that's the pinkish red one, have the same value but work differently. Okay, so next let's look at bids and bonus bids. So you spend regular bids only if you win. This is like a typical auction. I bid 100, someone else bids 150, I haven't just spent 100, right? Because I got outbid. If they win, great. They're going to spend their 150. I keep mine. Bonus bids are like a tip for the artist. They can count towards your bid, but you don't take them back if you lose. So in that example I just shared, if I bid 100 bonus bids and someone else outbids me with 150, my bonus bids are gone. I've given them to the artist. It's like a tip for the artist. And that still counts as my bid, and if later I win for 500, I'll only have to spend 400 bids because I've used 100 bonus bids. But if I don't win, those bonus bids are gone. I probably explained too much for this screen. It's clearer with the visuals in just a second. But first, let's take a look at an example of bid bank. So let's say I have a BoMA buyer membership. This is what my bid bank might look like. So this member has 37,500 bids. Their bid bank capacity is 40,000, so their bid bank is not full. All 37,500 bids will roll over to the next month. They also have 500 bonus bids. All right, let's talk about bonus bids a little bit more. Bonus bids are awesome. Only paying members get bonus bids. They're free. They're not banked, meaning they don't roll over from month to month. They're always spent first. They're a great way to tip the artist. They're never refunded, even if you're outbid, and they're a fun perk of paid membership. The idea here is, if I want to buy a piece of art, but I'm not a big art collector, and art can cost hundreds of dollars, easily, I don't necessarily want to just go spend $300 on a painting. But if I sign up for BoMA at $20 a month, I can slowly build up my bid bank until I have enough for one of those buy now buttons. Well, in the meantime, we want people to log into the site and participate even while they're saving up their bids. Bonus bids are the rotisserie chicken at Costco, right? It gets you in the door. Costco takes a loss on it, but they don't care, because if you're in there getting a rotisserie chicken, you're also going to get $300 of groceries, right? So if I'm saving up my bids, if I'm a conservative player or bidder or art collector or whatever, I still want to log in at least once a month to use my bonus bids because, first of all, I might get lucky and win an auction for cheap, but also the bonus bids don't roll over anyway, so I've got to log in every month to spend the bonus bids. Now, I mentioned only paying members get bonus bids. So what if you have a free membership and you still want to tip the artist? We do allow that. It's called bumping the bid. So if you just want to tip the artist without bidding, you can bump the bid for as little as 50 bids. And this increases the high bid without changing the current high bidder, and your bids are spent immediately. So again, it's just putting a tip in the artist's tip box. Whew. Okay, that was a lot. Let's do a quick review. First of all, the best way to build your bid bank is with a paid membership, because you get bids every month and a discount on additional deposits. Your bid bank has limited rollover capacity, so once it's full, you better start spending. Bonus bids are free, they can't be banked, and they act as a tip for the artist. They can contribute to your bid, but you don't get them back if you lose. And finally, if you want to tip the artist without bidding, just bump the bid. All right, so to clarify this, let's look at an example auction that takes all of these things into consideration. All of this stuff happens in this auction. So here's the 3 bid banks before the auction. John, Drew, and Will are all going to bid on this piece. We can see John has a free membership, BoMA fan. He only has 520 bids. Drew has a BoMA Maker membership, that's $6 a month. He's got, his bid bank is over full, so he needs to spend. Will has 37,500 bids. He has a BoMA buyer membership. He has 500 bonus bids, so he's got a bunch. So they all like this painting. Let's see how the auction goes. So Drew starts by bidding 100 bids. Now notice Drew has 100 bonus bids. So his bonus bids are spent first, and they're never refunded. So Drew has essentially just tipped the artist 100 bids and started the bidding. Okay, next John comes in and bids 400. And then Drew outbids him at 500. John didn't have any bonus bids to spend. So when he bid 400 and then he got outbid at 500, he's lost nothing. John keeps all 520 of his bids. Except that next John bumps the bid for 50 bids. So he has just spent 50 bids. He's going to have 470 now. And then Will comes in with his big 9,450 bid. And again, his bonus bids are spent first. So his 500 bonus bids are gone. And he also significantly raised the bid. Drew comes back and outbids him by 50 with 9,500, and Drew wins. This piece is sold to Drew for 9,500 bids. Now let's see what happens to their bid banks. Remember, this is what the bid banks looked like before the auction. Here's what the banks look like afterwards. John spent 50 on a bump, so he's down to 470. Drew spent 100 bonus bids plus 9,400 regular bids for the total sale price of $9,500. Will, when he bid the first time, his 500 bonus bids were spent immediately. He doesn't get them back. Now, the reason it works like this, if you want to really dive into it, then I would like you to contribute to BoMA. Help me invest in this project, and I will show you the entire revenue model. But the long story short is, this allows us to pay the artists without the bidding getting quite so high. If everyone logs in and uses their bonus bids every month, even when they're saving up their regular bids, that gives us something to show for the monthly revenue while they're not purchasing art, and we can pass that along to the artists and even pay artists that don't sell their paintings. You know, when you sell a painting, that's when you're going to get, you know, a big check. But it's going to be just a small revenue stream for artists that participate if they get any bids whatsoever. Okay, so let's say that you went to buyermakeart.com, you chose buy art, and then you chose play a game. It took you through this whole tutorial. Now you know how to play the game of bidding in auctions at buyermakeart.com. So next we go, all right, do you want some strategy tips for this game? Or are you ready to play? And of course, I'm going to nerd out a little more with you. We're going to say yes, feed my brain. So here's that auction that we just talked about, and let's just analyze each bid. It's kind of like poker. When someone places a bet, you're trying to use that as a clue as to what kind of hand they're playing, right? And bidding on an auction is no different, with the extra little twist of the bonus bids and the bid bumps. So check this out. The first bid was Drew, 100 bids, and no one knows if Drew spent regular bids or bonus bids. Is he risking his bonus bids? Did he just put skin in the game? Or is this just a low bid that, you know, someone's going to outbid him and no big deal? John bids 400. Okay, John's interested, but this bid doesn't tell us that much. It's just, you know, he's come in with a little more decent bid. Okay, Drew outbids him by 50. This tells me Drew is probably pretty serious. I bet that first bid was his 100 bonus bids. He's not getting them back, so he wants to stay in this auction and use those 100 bonus bids towards the purchase of the painting if he can win this auction. Okay, then John bumps 50 bids. Okay, he just threw away 50 bids. That is not a new high bid. He's basically turned Drew's 450 bid into a 500 bid without changing the high bidder. So now the highest bid is 500. Drew is like, awesome, I just got an extra 50 bids added on top. John apparently loves the painting but doesn't have enough bids to stay in the race. Will, out of nowhere, bids 9,450. He comes in like a wrecking ball. Maybe he's just doing this to try to scare others away, but Drew comes right back in with another 50 bid raise. It looks like he's just waiting to outbid anyone. No matter what you bid, Drew's going to bid 50 higher. So Drew is sending a message like, go ahead, Will. You know, what you got? Outbid me again and I'll just beat you by 50. I've got all day. And Will's like, well, I did spend my 500 bonus bids. Maybe I should stay in this, but I kind of think Drew might outbid me no matter what I bid, so I quit. I'm going to let this one go to Drew. Okay, now that we have an understanding of, first of all, where some of the art comes from, we still haven't gotten to the make art side, but I gave you the preview of the art student storage stuff so you'd see where some of our art comes from. So you have an idea of where the art comes from, how you can just buy art, and how you can participate in the game and the auctions to try to get deals on art. Let's actually look at these membership options. First of all, you can sign up for BoMA for free. It costs nothing and you can participate in the auctions and the buying and everything. You just have to pay $10 every time you want 1,000 bids. So get your free membership, and then if you see something you like for 5,000 bids, put 50 bucks in, spend your 5,000 bids, you're good to go. Plus, every time you log in, you'll get that random selection of art shown to you, and just by clicking on them to vote for the ones you like, you earn 2 bids per vote. And by the way, I just want to mention, it says they can bank up to 6,000 bids. They can buy something for more than 6,000 bids. They just can't roll over that much from month to month. So if someone wants to pay $100 to get 10,000 bids for a buy now button, of course I'm going to let them. I'm not going to say, sorry, your bank's not big enough. I don't want your $100. But anyway, let's go on to the paid memberships. For artists, we have the $6 a month membership. This will get you 600 bids a month plus 100 bonus bids every month. 5% off bid deposits, bank up to 10,000. You have the option to submit art for sale, and you can vote to earn 10 bids a day, just like everybody can. The best value option, $20 a month, is BoMA Buyer. You can see what's available there, a little bit larger discount on bid deposits, and you can bank up to 40,000. And then there's the BoMA Patron membership. You get more per month. You get the biggest amount of bonus bids, the biggest discount on bid deposits. You can bank up to 100,000. And that last bullet point there, you can sponsor a maker. So some artist will not have to pay for their membership to be able to submit their art for sale on BoMA. All right, that'll do it for the buy art side of buy or make art. This would be a good time to take a break. If you need a break, maybe go grab a snack and press play when you get back and eat that snack while I'm going through the make art side. When you go to buyormakeart.com, you'll be presented with this very simple 2-option interface. Do you want to buy art or make art? We've been through all the options on the buy art side. Either just buy it or play a game. Now let's go on to the make art side. Make art will also have 2 options. Do you want to sell art or do you just want to learn? And by the way, the people here are intentionally chosen as examples of the target market, right? The sell art side is largely targeted towards art students, which I've talked about. The learn is largely targeted towards parents and children. And in fact, if you actually go to buyyormakeart.com right now, you will see a lot of that last one, I want to learn. That's the part of the business that I have actually developed the most to this point. So let's go there and I'll show you. All right, here is Buy or Make Art as it exists today. So this again is targeted mostly at parents and children. There are other potential target markets here, but you have to start somewhere, right? So this is a TikTok that goes through kind of the idea that like, you want to spend time with your kids. Anyway, I don't want to explain too much of this because you can go right now to buyyormakeart.com and check it out yourself. But a couple things I'll point out is, we have on-demand video lessons. This would be part of the free membership, right? Where they can come in here, you can watch lesson 1 and then sign up and get the rest of the lessons. Again, just on-demand video lessons. Or you can go for the in-person experience. This is only available to my neighborhood right now. And these are classes hosted at my house, and here's some session descriptions. If you go to view course, here's what I've got for sale right now. And actually, we just have these 2 days left. We're almost at the end of this, so I'll be posting new classes soon. But you can go here, for example, for the Punch Pass. You could actually pay for this right now. I wouldn't suggest it because there's only 1 Punch Pass day left. But yeah, this is all up and running, and I've absolutely loved having kids over at my house painting. Now, scaling this is a whole other business model in and of itself, these art classes at home. And I've got a potential partnership I'll talk to you about in just a minute that will really help fast forward scaling this part of the business. We'll close that. But, part of the mission of BoMA is to create artists. This is a big part of that. Obviously, we're going to support art students, but art students are already on their way. They are artists. This is a way to address some of that lack of public funding and give children an opportunity to experience art at home. And remember, the most basic version of this is not an in-person class you have to pay for. It's free videos. It's part of the free membership. Okay, so that is the I want to learn side of Make Art. If you click on I want to sell art, this is probably the one that is most nebulous in terms of the target market. There are a lot of people that want to sell their art. So if you click on I want to sell art, we're going to ask a quick question. Do you also want to buy art? Is this someone who might have the budget to spend $20 a month and purchase some art? Or are we talking about an artist that we're just going to ask for $6 a month and just help them sell their art? So right here, you can either click yes or no, depending on which one describes you best, or you can click on see all membership options to see, again, this screen to see what all of your options are. And again, I'll get into the target market for each of these different memberships in a minute. It really is at least 4 different businesses in one, in a way that bridges inequalities and bridges gaps between people to bridge minds and create artists. So let's say we have signed up for a membership. Once you've got your membership set up, the first time you log in every day, you're going to be presented with a bunch of art. This is a little bit of a de-optimization of the customer experience if they just want to get in to buy something, but this is intentional. This is part of the democratization of art creation. So I could just click one of those checkboxes and then click done voting, right? But let's say that I really care and I want my votes to count, and I'm going to use all 5. So first I'm going to click on that painting in the middle to take a closer look. Okay, that's cool. I can see some of the texture in it. I like that. I can click vote for this, and now I've used 1 of 5 votes. I'll hit that X in the top right to get back to the list here. You can see now that 1 is checked. I voted for it. Let's just use the check boxes here to vote for that one and that one and that one. All right, I've got 1 vote left. I'm going to hit next. Oh, look at that cute. That's some kids' art. I'm going to go ahead and vote for them. Okay, so I've used my 5 votes. I'll click done voting, and guess what? I just earned 10 free bids by voting for those. And then it shows me the pieces that I voted for, and I can bid on them. By the way, another little behind the scenes piece you probably don't need to know, but you can see the threshold has been met. This artist is getting paid. This piece has been sold. There is no longer a buy now option. We have enough bonus bids, enough revenue accounted for that we can attribute to this painting that it's going to sell no matter what, which is awesome because it's only at 5,500 bids. But again, we're just going through a login experience. I logged in, I voted, and then it gives me an opportunity to bid on or buy the pieces that I voted for. So I can go through these and see these. This one, no one's even bid on it yet. The minimum bid is 50. Or I can buy now for 5,000 bids. This one's cheap. All right, and once I'm done looking at the pieces that I voted for, I can go to the galleries, take a look around, see if there's something I want to actually spend my money on today, or if I'm just going to throw my bonus bids towards a piece that I like. Just send a little love to an artist for free. Okay, so that does it for the summary of the buy art and make art customer experience that ranges from $100 a month all the way down to free per month. It could be someone that just likes to buy and collect art, someone who's hunting for deals, an art student wanting to sell their art, or someone who's just trying a hobby or spending time with their kids doing art activities at home. Again, quick review. If you click on buy art, you get these two options. Just buy it or play a game. If you click on make art, you get these two options. I want to sell art or I want to learn. Now let's talk about the target markets for these 4 levels of membership. On the right, you have the anticipated membership breakdown. Just my guess is about 1% will become patrons, maybe 5% buyers, 14% makers, and the vast majority will just have a free membership. So let's start with that free membership. BoMA fans will largely come from friends and family of BoMA makers. Anyone who's a BoMA maker for $6 a month will have the opportunity to submit one piece of art per month that will then be up for voting in the top 10. And if they get in the top 10, they get $100. They don't even have to sell the piece of art, they just win. So sort of the value proposition of having a free membership is it's free, right? And I can log in and vote for my friends, and I can also bump the bid for my friends, which actually means sending money to the artist. Because you can earn 10 bids a day just by logging in and voting. If you do that for 5 days, you got 50 bids. You can bump the bid that actually pays the artist. And it's all free. Now, BoMA makers, these are the ones that I'm going to go after really strong, right? We've got the art students that we're going to get to store art with us. We've got hobbyists, people who are just artists for fun and they're making art anyway. They might as well spend the $6 a month, see if they can sell some art, as well as be able to save up slowly to buy art every once in a while. And then the families who use the free BoMA videos or are coming to the in-person BoMA classes. And again, bear with me for a second. I'm going to talk about the way that I'd like to grow those in-person classes. Okay, next, BoMA buyers. These are people like me, middle-aged professionals. I mean, I mentioned Mallory earlier. When Mallory and I first met, we both saw art in each other's background, and it was such an easy, instant connection. People like me who have a little bit of money to spend on art and want to have something unique in their space, but they don't want to spend hundreds of dollars every month on art. They're not a major art collector. Plus, and I don't know if I've emphasized this enough in this presentation, BoMA is a good cause. We build bridges between minds and we create artists. It's good for the world. And lastly, BoMA patrons. This is largely just people that they just want to buy art. They heard there's art for sale. They heard BoMA is pretty cool and doing neat things to help create artists and bridge minds. I want to be a part of that. I'll buy some art. Or here's another little piece I haven't mentioned yet. I call this the Clyde Adams effect. Clyde Adams recently passed away. She was an amazing lady. She started Clyde Adams School of Ballet, and the Nutcracker performance in our community every year, it's incredible. Like, I shouldn't have started talking about this because I could go on and on and on about it. But the beautiful thing that she built is that almost everyone in the audience knows someone on stage, right? So people will buy tickets to go see their niece or their granddaughter or grandson. BoMA patrons will be grandparents as well, right? And their kids or nephews or grandkids are aspiring artists. And by being a patron, they can sponsor a BoMA maker, go vote for their loved ones, and buy art as well. So there's a couple of angles there. Again, each of these memberships have a variety of value propositions and target markets that we can market towards. So here they are all in one place. Okay, analyzing the competition for this kind of business is a bit complicated because it really is at least 4 businesses in one. But let's just talk about art sales online because that's a big part of it, right? The main competitors that I'm looking at are, first of all, TikTok Shop. A lot of the artists that I love I've found on TikTok, and they sell their stuff on TikTok. There are currently 15 million sellers on TikTok and 500,000 of them are in the USA. BoMA has a couple advantages over TikTok Shop. One is accessibility because you can't monetize on TikTok until you have thousands of followers. And also the nonprofit aspect, although I got to be careful with that phrase nonprofit because BoMA will not be a nonprofit organization, but the profits will go to support a foundation. So philanthropy. Plus, artists tend to be socially conscious people and could be hesitant to support a platform like TikTok. Okay, next, eBay. eBay is the go-to online auction place, right? There's 132 million buyers, 18 million sellers. Those numbers are not growing. I think it's safe to say eBay is past its prime, but it's definitely far from dead, right? It's here to stay. So BoMA has a couple advantages here as well. One is the niche, right? We'll take a beachhead approach to specific universities, specific art students to gather the collection of art, and also to specific neighborhoods like I'm doing with the in-person classes. And again, I'll talk about a partnership I'm trying to set up for that. Just a very targeted approach to where, winning each group of this target market will be a lot easier than trying to directly compete with the giant of eBay, right? Taking a beachhead approach. Not to mention the fact that for the art students around my area or around Providence, where Theo is, we will manage the storage of their art, and we'll expand that, just like Storage Scholars has done, expand that to other universities so that they don't have to worry about the storage. What's up?
Can you drive us to our party?
A few moments later.
Okay, possibly the biggest competitor, in fact, some of the artists that I see right now, RISD graduates, things like that, they're on Etsy. They're selling their art on Etsy. Right now there's 95.2 million buyers, 7.5 million sellers on Etsy. And BoMA has a couple advantages there too. One is credibility. There's a lot of unlicensed stuff on Etsy. You can go find anything Disney you can imagine. You can find Disney and Nike stuff together, and I don't know how they're getting away with it. I'm guessing they pass the liability on to the seller, but anyway, it's just a little bit gray in terms of legality and intellectual property. Since BoMA is only dealing with handmade original paintings, we won't face that. These are artists hand to canvas creating original paintings. Now, in tackling this entire vision, I'm not alone. I mentioned the team that's helping me, but also there are these potential partnerships. Now, this is premature to put these on the board. None of these are secured partnerships, but these are organizations and people that I've been talking to about partnering, and I'm optimistic. First of all, Let's Play Music. I mean, I could go on, and I put them on here not because we have a partnership, but because I want to recommend them, whether I partner with them or not. They have hundreds of teachers across the US and Canada teaching music classes out of their home, and I would like to offer BoMA classes as an additional curriculum that these teachers can offer to their students, so they can teach music classes and painting classes. And this would be a huge fast forward to get those in-person classes scaled up and throughout the country, with a network of teachers that already exists, because Let's Play Music has been around for over 25 years. Both of my girls have been in Let's Play Music, and it's really amazing. I can't say enough good things about them. Then, of course, there's Rhode Island School of Design. Again, I have no official partnership or affiliation with them or any other university. I just have friends there who are helping make this happen, and I know that at least I can go to the flea market and talk to the artist directly and say, look, let me store your paintings, right? But I think if we follow the model of Storage Scholars, it's totally possible to get official partnerships with RISD and other great art schools to have an incredible collection of art for sale on BoMA. And finally, Prime Storage. Theo's just a manager at one of their locations, so he's going to be helping me out, if not some more firm partnership, because they do have locations all over the country. So as we partner with different universities, perhaps we can partner with Prime as well. These are some partners that I sort of have my sights on. Again, nothing has been set up yet, but I'm not trying to do this all myself. Next, the revenue model is a secret. If you're interested in getting involved in BoMA and contributing financially to this project, great. I would love to talk, and I will unveil the entire revenue model and show you how this can scale. And in all the revenue modeling I've done, I have used very conservative numbers. The one thing that I'll tell you is no matter how big it scales, I've kept the numbers at 20 pieces of art being sold per month. So if there's 100,000 members and the top 10 pieces sell, and maybe one more piece by each of those artists, that's what this revenue model is based on. Obviously, if we have that many people, I hope we'll sell a lot more than that. But I've modeled this in a very conservative way so that I hope to guess low, end up high, and have a lot of money to contribute towards the arts in our country through the BoMA Arts Foundation. All right, back to that big problem we talked about in the beginning, the division among families, communities, neighborhoods. What can we do? What can we do to knit communities and families and neighborhoods, marriages, parents and children back together? Put simply, we need to bridge our minds again by creating artists and by appreciating art. How do we do that? Really, when you boil it down to the most simple thing that you can do, just choose one. Either buy art or make art. If you'd like to get involved in this in any way, or just give me feedback, or just say hi, I would love to hear from you. YouTube tends to take down videos that have personally identifying information, so I've been a little creative in the way that I shared my contact information there. The biggest bottleneck and challenge that I'm facing right now is my own time. I have to work for paying clients to pay the bills, right? And BoMA is not paying me anything while I build it. So if there's someone who catches the vision and wants to own a part of BoMA, a financial investment is what would help me the most. And ideally, if I could get, at least $5,000 a month for a year, about $60,000, I would love to talk about what portion of equity someone might be interested in for that sort of investment in this idea. And anything short of that, feel free to Venmo me at bfair31. But most of all, I just want to say thank you for reaching the end of this video. Thank you for being interested in this cause, in this mission. And if you have questions, you know how to reach me. Thank you so much.